It's me again. There we go. I just finished watching Luke Cage. At the time of this recording, it was probably like earlier this week, maybe? Considering the time that it takes between when I record these videos and when I edit them, this whole time explanation may be pretty not, but oh well. I liked it a lot. I didn't like it as much as I hoped I would. It's so funny, my opinion on this, I've mentioned these two people before. I mentioned them in my Casey Neistat video. I mentioned these two people. They're the two most important people in my life. So my opinion right now is kind of in between the two of them. Again, it's my girlfriend Nikki and my best friend Mark. My girlfriend Nikki loves it. Like, she absolutely loves it for multiple reasons. Like, she realizes that the story has flaws and some things could have been done better than others. But she didn't have as much problem with the dialogue in the show as I did. And she said that no matter what its faults were, the casting alone is enough to like, which I agree, the casting is really good. Unfortunately, I don't even remember all of the actors' names. I remember Simone Missick. Is it Simone? I remember Marshall Ali, who I already, the first time I saw him was 4400, the 4400 on USA, just years ago, so long ago. It's like when Monk was still on television, really long time ago. But he was great in that, so I don't know, he's been in other stuff too, clearly. He was in Moonlight recently. I don't know, he's just really good. My friend Mark, on the other hand, he thought it was really dull. And he thought it was dull because it didn't live up to the hype. Like, when people sell it to him, they're like, you know, it's about all of these social issues, and don't you get it? Like, Luke Cage has always been a bulletproof black man, and he's always been relevant, even though he was a C-list Marvel character, basically. Now he's more relevant that, you know, anytime than ever, we need this character, and he's like, oh my gosh, yes. And he watched it, and he's just like, because he's a very critical person. Regardless of sentiment, he's going to like it if it's good, and it was okay. For starters, I didn't really like the dialogue. I found that every time somebody was speaking, they were saying something. Now, what I mean is, the speech needs to be relevant to the story, right? Or it needs to be relevant to plot progression. Why is this conversation happening if it's not furthering the plot? As far as I can tell, all the conversations furthered the plot in some way. It's just, it was filled with all of this. It seems like they had a list of, they're just like, these are the black things that we need to educate people about. And they just had a list, and they're like, let's read out this list every time we have a conversation. So almost every time a character talks, they're mentioning like a bunch of books, or they're mentioning important black figures, or they're mentioning, which, like, no, like, as I'm saying it, it sounds like, John, what the hell are you talking about? Of course. Like, for what the show wants to do, it makes sense that these characters are talking like that. But from a perspective of just a show and of writing, and it doesn't translate well. I don't know, the dialogue is just weird. It feels like they're always telling me something, which I'm not, I don't have a better way to articulate that, but it's just not in a good way. I feel like I'm being given this additional information that I'm definitely not going to write down. Like, unless somebody told me, oh, Luke Cage is also a documentary on a bunch of different black literature that you should look into. Like, unless somebody sold it as that from the beginning. Because now I'm just watching and I'm like, oh, okay. Alright, okay. The things that you're saying, do they build the world? I guess, maybe. I don't even know. So, I don't think they do any more building than like stuff actually related to plot and characters does. It's just, but everybody does it, everyone. If it's not telling you something, then it's like one-liners, or it's like sometimes I can't tell if a character is actually supposed to be perceived as clever. More specifically Luke, because like he says a lot of different, again, he's very, what would you call it? He speechifies like all the time. But then also when he's talking to women, it's like almost every time he's talking, almost every time, it's better with Claire. Almost every time he speaks to Misty, it like devolves into him mentioning the fact that they've had sex before, and it's just like, dude, like seriously, do you need to be saying that right now? How is that relevant? We were just talking about a person being murdered, and now you're going, haha, we boned. It's like, stop, just, despite not liking the dialogue, like I think my main point of contention was the dialogue. There's some plot stuff, in fact, I'll get into that.